If you got a parking ticket recently and you think you didn't deserve it, we never do.
Of course you don't.
We're going to help you get out of it.
There's this new book called Stick It to Your Ticket, the unofficial guide to beating your parking ticket in Chicago. Pretty catchy title there. The author, Sheldon Zeiger, joins us this morning. Thanks for coming in. First of all, what's the first thing you should do if you get a parking ticket?
Well, the first thing you should, first of all, I understand how frustrating it is when you walk out of your house or your office. Or
you've been working out.
You've been working out and you walk out and you see that bright orange ticket on your car. And your first instinct is to take that ticket off your windshield and throw it on the ground or throw it in your glove compartment and forget about it. Well, that is exactly the wrong thing to do. What you need to do is two things. The first thing you need to do when you get a ticket is look at the face of the ticket and determine if it's written properly. Because often that information that's on the ticket, that's the city's case.
Yeah.
There's something missing there, or something that an error, and that right away is your way to get out of a ticket. The prima facie case hasn't been written properly. The second thing you need to do is that you need to be like a crime scene investigator. At that point is when you gather all your evidence to contest the ticket. You don't.
I've done that before.
Take pictures, call in someone from the office as a witness. In other words, evidence that you gather at that moment in time is more credible than evidence you'll gather weeks later when you get your notices in the mail and start wanting to contest the ticket.
We should preface this by saying you worked for how many years?
I worked for about 15 years.
Okay, so
I was a hearing officer with the Department of Revenue in the Parking Enforcement Division. I was an administrative law officer with the Department of Administrative Hearings. I heard tens of thousands of tickets.
What's the best excuse you have?
It's interesting. In the book, I have a whole chapter on excuses. And
look at that now.
People will say anything to get out of their parking tickets.
Right, absolutely.
And the ones I found the most funny was people who would often use like the religion, like I was in church or I was in synagogue, or I was in a mosque, and that's when I got my ticket. And it was just I always found it a little sacrilegious to think that people would use the religion to get out of a parking ticket. But that's the type of thing that we would hear. And the point I want to make about this is that there's a difference between excuses and defenses. Defenses is what you need. You need to raise a valid defense in order to get out of your parking ticket.
What percentage of people who actually contest their ticket actually get out of it?
That's an excellent question. Let me make one point before that. 90% of the people who get tickets don't contest. 90% of the people, out of fear for the system they just let it go.
Well, you actually think too. You don't realize that there's somebody actually that's going to open when you contest it. I always wonder who's behind the desk.
At the time that I worked for the city, I was the one who read the ticket. If you do contest, though, you can beat a ticket. This is according to city statistics. This has nothing to do with about 50% of those tickets that are contested are dismissed. So there's no reason to throw away your hard-earned money, and the only way for you, once you've received a ticket, the only way for you to beat the ticket is if you contest it. So
can I ask you a question? Okay, so you're the guy who's so I contest a ticket. Okay. I send it, you get it. You solely look at the explanation of why I don't think I deserve the ticket. If you're in a good mood that day, maybe you'll just say, "All right, you get excused. You get excused."
Hearing officers are pretty well trained, and I always viewed myself as a very fair hearing officer. And hearing officers go through a process. With every single ticket of the tens of thousands I saw, I went through a process, and I said to myself, number one, the burden is on the city to establish by preponderance of the evidence that is a good ticket. Okay, and so your job as a citizen with a ticket is to rebut that, is to say, with your proof and with a valid defense and with supporting evidence, your job is to reduce that. If you could reduce that just to 50-50, in my mind as a hearing officer, it's my obligation under the law to dismiss your ticket.
Okay, you got 10 seconds. What is a good valid defense?
A good valid defense are things like the meter was broken. I'm not the owner leasing of the cited vehicle. I'm not, the signs were missing. There are, in the book...
That's a defense? You could actually say you weren't driving and that's the defense enough?
No, not that you weren't driving, that I'm not the registered owner of the vehicle.
What if somebody else was driving their car and they got a ticket?
That has nothing to do with it. You, as the registered owner of the vehicle, are responsible for whatever tickets are
Well, you can find all this information in the book, Stick It to Your Ticket. Sheldon Zeiger, thanks for coming in this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.